that valley. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the research and insights pros that you trust. Today's guest is Isabel Aneyba, who is the founder and qualitative and UX research director of a company called COMARKA Research, which just happens to be down the street from me in Austin, Texas. And she's been there for 16 plus years now, which is super cool. Now, COMARKA, really cool company. They provide strategic and cultural insights to companies that are going through some sort of disruption, which I think is really relevant right now in a period of social and demographic change. So really cool stuff. Now they do all kinds of fascinating work. I happened to see Isabel speak last week at the Insights Association in Las Vegas, where she talked about the super cool co-creation project with millennials and clients sequestered on an island. So all kinds of really cool stuff that we'll talk about. Now, in addition to her work, she's always been very active in helping to advance the industry through the QRCA and others, but she's also spent an awful lot of time, her last 15 plus years, dedicated to a charity that's very touching, and we're going to talk about all that and more on today's podcast. So welcome to the show, Isabel.
Thank you, Mike. Matt, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, super happy to have you. Glad we met last week and we're chatting today. So Isabel, you've got such a fascinating background that spans more than the US for sure, spans disciplines. So let's talk about how you got into research in the first place. Let's get a chance to hear a little bit of your story.
Yes. Well, my story has several layers and several insights. The first one came from my dad. My dad is an internal medicine doctor that he taught me that people that went to his consultation that had a disease, that they were healed by listening to them. So I realized that people are not heard or appreciated enough. They have this hunger for being listened to. And if we listen to them, we help them. So that was the first insight. I said, oh, what a wonderful thing, listen to people and help them feel appreciated. Then when I was studying in my bachelor's degree, I did an internship with a qualitative research firm, and I was moderating groups there and doing analysis. It was a boutique research firm. So I realized, oh my God, there are companies that pay you to listen to people. So you will gather insights, and then these insights will help them grow and serve these customers. So I said, oh, I think this is what I would like to do in my career. But I said, first, my mom is a dentist, and she always told me to get things done, not just, like study. So I said, so my mom's side spoke to me saying, okay, but first I will be a marketer. I will launch products and brands and see how difficult it is, and have that, like in my back pocket, like be able to understand the challenge before I advise. So I work as a brand manager, chief marketing officer of a regional food and beverage company, and they gave me the freedom to launch products and revitalize the brand, a 50-year-old brand with moms with children. It was great. It was great. I learned one huge lesson. I have to tell you, it takes a lot of work to launch a product. It takes a lot of work to revitalize a brand. You better be in the right direction. So that's why research and insights is so important, because we have this responsibility of, it's kind of like the company's future. If you don't do your job right, and you have to be strategic. So after launching several products, brands, and including a chorizo,
chorizo, my favorite.
a spicy chorizo. I decided to do well. Before that, I did an MBA, and I in order to get these jobs in Mexico, you know, as a woman back in when I was younger, you had to have a plus, and a plus was you had an MBA. Otherwise, you were not going to get these management jobs, right? So when I was doing this MBA, I learned my, you know, fourth insight that I was hired by Nortel and doing research in Latin America for this Canadian company, telecommunications company. We were interviewing top executives, and I was traveling with these vice presidents, and we were in the same interviews, but I was listening to different things that they were listening. They were getting lost in translation. I was able to decode the meaning, you know, between lines, but they were not.
Right.
So I learned that cultural insights are very important, because when you're doing research between two cultures or internationally, there is a huge risk of getting it wrong. You also getting it lost in translation. So I said to myself, well, I think when I have my company, I'm going to focus in cultural insights and help them companies be more assertive. And there is also a fifth insight. The North Americans, the Canadians, treat me like an equal, which it was like wonderful. In Mexico, we still had the stigma that, you know, women will get married and maybe will not work as much. So I love the way they treated me, and they treat me like normal. I was like, okay, I want to work with North Americans. So then I decided to move to the United States, do another MBA, and start my company, COMARKA. And I'm not telling you that it has been, you know, a walk in the park, because, you know, being your own having your own company and your own boss, you get to do a lot of things, but it's something that really has helped me grow as a professional.
Right. Yeah, you know, it really is a fascinating background. I love to hear from people that that have worked as marketers or product managers, because when you think of research, you think of empathy, right? Empathy for consumers and customers, but you also have that empathy then for clients and what they're dealing with on the client side, because you've been there, right? Yeah, cool stuff. So tell me a little bit about some of the work that you're doing at COMARKA.
Yes, so you can imagine if you do, I started doing research for US Hispanics in 2006 when I started the company, and also in Mexico for North American companies. And you might imagine that, like I said, there is a gap. There is a lost in translation gap. It's very difficult for a person from a different culture to really understand another person from a different culture. You really need to create approaches that will, you know, will reduce that gap. And what I created were participatory research methods, where I help clients have a close and personal encounter with these Latinos or with these millennials and Gen Zs. So ethnography helped me a lot, as well as focus groups. Then you have the disruption that the research and development cycles reduce. Like in the past, we had 1 year to launch a product, 2 years. Now it's like 2 months to do the research. So I also learned to develop agile research methods that will get me from understanding the problem, developing ideas, to evaluating the ideas very quickly. And that's, for example, the consumer co-creation camp, where I took 18 clients and 18 consumers and 3 moderators, including myself, to an island to help them understand millennials, and as well as create new products and evaluate them was the solution.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And it's kind of fun too, because we're going to be talking about islands just a little bit later. So we'll get to that. So let's talk about this charity. It's really a neat thing. So tell us about that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one of the highlights of my life. As soon as I moved to Austin, I went to a toy ride toy drive it was an event from my MBA, and I met a woman who organized the toy drive, and I went with her to this children's home to bring the toys. And she said, this would be a great place for you to volunteer. These are children that have been affected by abuse and neglect, and now they are they're in this home to heal and be adopted. So I looked at all the volunteers activities, and I selected my favorite one was bedtime reader. And I thought about when I was young, how my dad will come to say goodbye to me and listen to me, and how my mom would tell me stories. I was a very fortunate child by having the attention of both of my parents. I know that that's not something that is usual, but I said, this was my favorite time, my favorite memory. I'm going to give it to these children. So it's wonderful. So my job is to help children feel value at bedtime. So I do obviously listen to them, the good things about their day, the bad things about their day, and then I pamper them by reading their favorite book. Like, for example, sporty children want sporty books, nerd children want science or science books, funny children want the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, creative children want a Star Wars book. But so I read to them those books that they love, and as I told you, I develop a relationship with them. I also introduce them to God. I read them this book, Children of God, written by the Nobel Peace Prize winner Desmond Tutu, and it gives them hope that no matter how hard it is, God is always going to be with them. Always. They are not alone. And it's just wonderful to be with them in this healing process. Usually it takes a year. When they get to the home, they are very sad because they are no longer have the parents they had. They have to start from scratch. And then they get angry, and then you are walking with them in that process. And then you start seeing them being grateful and hopeful and joyful. And a year passes, and then when you are seeing this child that is completely different, full of love, you said, okay, this guy is going to be adopted soon, and it's when it happens. So it has taught me two lessons. The first lesson is the power of human resilience. No matter how difficult things are in your life, you always can transform your life through love and forgiveness. And children have taught me that. And the second one is the power of hope. Hope will overcome any sadness and transform that sadness into joy.
That's wonderful. Those are great lessons to learn. So cool. All right. So I think one of the things that's unique about you relative to other qualitative experts that I know is that you have had the opportunity to do extensive research in Mexico with Native Mexicans, and then with US Hispanics. And I'm just kind of curious how you might compare and contrast those scenarios.
Yes, well, in Mexico, when I was doing research in Mexico, our main target is the medium income, especially families, because medium income families are 30% of the market plus, and the low income are 60%. So if you target the median income, you kind of like target all of them. But however, nowadays, and in the past, Hispanics, where we were more targeting the Spanish dominant and the biculturals, but nowadays it's very similar because the companies have the same challenge, which is to develop products and brands for the future to connect with actual generations. So now I'm doing research very similar. For example, in Mexico, I did research for Deezer, a music app, and I interviewed Gen Zs about how they use music. You will love this, I knew. And here in the US, I'm doing interviews and research for an e-commerce company and helping them understand what are the friction points that Gen Zs have. because Gen Zs are digital natives. They want everything to flow. So things that, for example, for Gen X like me, they bother them, and they don't want that. And we need to eliminate them from the user experience. So right now it's very similar because the challenge is very similar. Reposition yourself with new generations using technology.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. Like the smallest point of friction nowadays can cause somebody to switch from one to the other when the switching costs are so low, right? So the user experience, the importance of that has been dialed up immeasurably in recent years. Yeah, cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
You know that. Right. You know that because
I know
you've been there.
That's right. I've rolled up my sleeves on user experience for sure over the past couple years.
Yes.
So, so you've done user experience. You have been very deeply steeped into cultural insights. Curious to know what your view of the future is for research and insights.
Okay, that's interesting. One thing I seen is that because the innovation cycles are smaller, now technology companies are focusing in enabling researchers to do research faster, right? And I think it will continue to, technology developments will continue to support the do-it-yourself trend, where in-house researchers are doing the research and they need tools to get it done fast. And so, for example, I think that besides, tools like Vscout, where you do online videos, and also like Remesh, where you do mixed methods, qual and quant, will continue to emerge. But I think that the ones that will win will be the most innovative, because now the market is saturated with the same platforms.
Definitely.
You need to have like a new value proposition. Like this year, I went to IIX, and I saw there was this app that was sold to researchers, where they could send food products to people's homes, and people could answer in this app the feedback about each product that they tasted. That's pretty good. That eliminates a lot of logistics of research. So I think that's going to continue, these unique new developments. And also I feel that it will continue the second trend that I've seen in the past 3-4 years, or I don't know. It's that consultant companies, the big consultant companies, are going to continue to use research and be the leaders, because companies are under disruption. And guess what? C-suite leaders hire these big consultant companies to find what is the right path, and they're the ones that will select what type of research is needed that will match their business model. So it will continue to be more strategic.
Yeah, very interesting. It's kind of like that bifurcation of technology versus the true expertise. And I think it's I love what you say about the technology. It's exciting for someone who's been in this space for a long time to see in recent years how much investment there has been in research, which used to be like this tiny corner that nobody paid attention to. Now understanding consumers is a strategic pillar of a lot of companies, and there's big opportunity. So it's great to see that people are investing, and new technology is making things better and enabling new kinds of research. So super cool. Love that. So Isabel, I'm interested to know, you're a very busy person, right? And so you're probably choosy to some extent about what kinds of media you consume. I'm interested to know what you turn to for inspiration, insight, or even enjoyment.
Well, I am connected most of the time to technology, the computer, my phone, right? So I enjoy also using books, to tell you the truth.
Old school.
Yeah, I know. But so I like to read biographies of leaders who have overcome challenges. It's very inspirational for me. For example, I am reading a book of Carla Harris, about lead to win, how to be a better leader in corporations that are facing disruption. I want to continue to understand, my clients. I also supplement this book reading by watching podcasts about the book or about this author, to understand where the authors comes from, because it tells the other story, just like you are asking me for my own story right now. And another
story
book,
behind the story.
the story behind the story, goodness. And then another book I'm reading is also from people that have reinvented their companies and themselves. For example, the Gary Keller, who wrote One Thing.
Right. It's a great book.
I work in real estate for a digital real estate company, and so this helped me understand what other competitors are doing. And the podcast did by Tim Ferriss with Gary Keller was really, really cool. He talked about the whole story behind the book. Anyway, so a combination of books, podcasts, and YouTube interviews.
Yeah, very good. It sounds like you find what you want to learn and you go deep on that. That's great. I'm kind of the same. Super. All right, well, we haven't talked rock and roll yet. We started to talk about islands, but this is the Rock and Roll Research Podcast after all, Isabel. So don't let that bias your answer, right? But this is what I really want to know. Okay, so let's say you did that co-creation camp on an island. Everybody leaves and you're stranded for the rest of your days. But what you have are 3 records at your disposal to keep you company. So what would your ideal 3 records be?
Okay, I don't forget, I did this research for Deezer and Gen Z's in Mexico. So it helped me realize how I use music, and I use music for these different purposes. So for example, when I am, I think that if I'm alone in that island, I will also get sad, right? So I will like music that will energize me. So I would like to listen to David Garrett. And I am not a person that listens to the whole record. I'm mostly, focused on songs I like, and the favorite song is Viva la Vida. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's very cheerful, right?
Very much, yeah. It'll keep you happy.
Yes, for a while, and then I am suppose I'm going to have to make a boat or make a tree house, and I need energy for a longer period of time. So I will probably love to listen to salsa that will energize me. Celia Cruz is amazing, and she also has another a song that I like called La Vida es un Carnaval, which means life is a fiesta. So yes, I will be listening to her, making my treehouse and my boat. And then because I need to energize myself about the love I left behind, my family and my actual boyfriend, I will listen to these pop and opera singers. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Their name is Il Bolo. They sing songs, maybe because your Italian background, you have heard them.
I'm not familiar, I must say.
Okay,
but enlighten me.
But they are opera singers that sing pop songs beautifully, and their songs are very romantic. The one song that is at the top of my mind is Grande Amore. The music is beautiful, the voice is amazing, and the lyrics, oh my God, to die for, especially for a Latina that is so romantic. It talks about how much you love the one love, and how much you are devoted to that love. So I probably be listening to that one too, to continue to give me energy to do my treehouse and my boat.
Sure, I love it. Now I'm thinking, like, let's say 30 years hence, somebody finds your island and rescues you. They're going to find you happy and dancing and energized with that lineup. So I love it.
Super but I have to say that I do love rock and roll. It's just that I haven't had a chance to, dance it properly. My mom was a Beatles fan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she will be called Popotitos. I don't know if you have heard about that song, Popotitos. It's
I haven't.
Popotitos is a song for a lady that loves to dance the whole time, and she's skinny. She has, you know, long thin legs.
Yeah.
And it's a funny song too. So
Okay.
the guy sings to her, and she says funny things about her, how he's gonna marry her and feed her so she gains weight, and it's just funny. It's just super funny. So I will
All right.
probably think about rock and roll too, thinking about my mom.
All right. Very good. Awesome. So excellent. Well, this has been a great chat, Isabel. You've got just a really fascinating background. There's a lot to learn from you. So I'm very happy to have had the chance to meet you last week, and grateful that you shared your insights on today's podcast. So let's definitely stay in touch. Let's talk soon and rock and roll.
Oh my gosh.
There you go. Awesome.